Hey guys, this is Tiffany for the last episode, oh my goodness, of Stranger Things. I am not ready. I can't do this. I can't. My body is not ready for what's happening right now. But, I mean, it's chapter 9, and this is All Good Things Must Come to an End, and this is chapter 9, The Gate. And obviously we know that this episode is going to be centered around Eleven and Mike, around closing this gate, and around Will and this shadow monster. So Eleven and Mike finally reunite, and of course it's very emotional. I honestly cried twice this episode. Once with their reunion because they, he's like, I've been talking to you every night, and she's like, yeah, for 353 days, and my heart, I'm just like, it's rough. And Hopper and Elle reunite, and they hug, and of course Mike, after realizing that Hopper hid Eleven and the fact that she was alive and okay and with him, starts hitting him, just thrashing at him, so angry, so upset, just taking out this rage and all this sadness and all this despair that he's dealt with for almost a year now, if not a year at this point, just pummeling Hopper. And Hopper just finally takes him in his arms and holds him close and just hugs him, because as Mike just sobs into his chest, because it's so hard for him to have had to go through. So Elle, it's funny because she refuses to say hi to Max. Max is holding out her hand to shake her Eleven's hand. She's like, hi, I've heard a lot about you. And she just kind of ignores her and just walks past, completely snubbing her. But she reunites with everyone else, with Joyce and everyone else. And Joyce asks Eleven if she will help them close the gate. So it goes to Nancy's mom, Joyce. Wow, I can't even talk today. What is her mom's name? Is it Karen? I don't remember. My mind just went blank. Anyway, she's in the tub and listening to The Way We Were by Barbra Streisand. She's got the bubble bath, the looks like a romance novel maybe that she's reading, and just obviously set for a nice relaxing time for herself. And the doorbell rings, and she's yelling at her husband to get it. He's passed out taking a nap, so she has to get out of the bath and get it. Well, there it is. It's Billy, and he takes one look at Nancy's mom. He's like, I didn't know Nancy had a sister. And it's it reminds me of American Pie and Stifler's mom, because she's obviously very flattered by his attention and his compliments. Obviously she's not really used to getting them from her own husband, so you kind of get that feeling that obviously, there's chemistry there, and definitely she's that hot younger man that flirts with her and all that stuff. So so that happens, and then it goes back to Mike and Joyce, and they're like, oh, well, Mike Mike thinks to himself, well, if Will likes it cold, obviously when we destroy this thing and we close the gate, it's going to kill this thing. So Will probably die if we do this. We've got to somehow get this host for this hive out of his body. And how can we do that except to make the body uninhabitable for the host? So anyways, they're wanting to get this set up and do different things. I thought it was funny because you actually see, as they're clearing up the stuff in the backyard, Steve has the Christmas lights. So the Christmas lights go, of course, those little Easter eggs that are going back to season 1. And Eleven's going to have to leave to go take care of this with Hopper. And Mike doesn't want to lose her again. And Eleven's like, you won't lose me. I'm not going anywhere. And they almost kiss. But Hopper's like, come on, we got to go. So of course she has to leave. It doesn't get to happen. and he, on the drive to the lab facility, he confronts her. He's like, "Where have you been? What happened to you?" And she, tells him, "I went and saw Mama. That a 18-wheeler took her, like a nice man in a big truck." And she tells him about Sarah, they talk about Sarah. Like, he tells her about his daughter that passed, and he equates it to like a black hole. He's like, a black hole, sucks everything into it and takes, things away, like even worlds. And he says that Sarah is gone and was taken by this black hole, basically. And they have that bonding moment with that, and like Elle holds his hand, and they both admit that they were stupid, and that they make amends. And he like talks about her look, and how he's like, at first I said it wasn't cool, but now I kind of dig it. And she's like, it's a nice look for you. She's like, bitchin' look. He's like, yeah, sure, bitchin' look, So oh gosh, whereas before we had mouth breather, apparently now we have that look is bitchin'. So there you go. So Steve and Dustin are like, they decide to cram this dead Demogorgon into the fridge, which is so disgusting. So because they want to like test it and do like figure out what this thing is made of, and what other opportunity will they ever get. And Steve has to talk to the group about how, look, we're benched. We don't get to do anything. We have to stay here and sit idle while they close the gate. And of course, everybody else is not content with that. They want to also do their part to fight back against these Demodogs and against the Mind Flayer. So they're not happy with being benched. But yeah, so Billy shows up at Will's house looking for Max, and Steve goes out to confront him, and Billy comes into the house and sees Lucas, and immediately like goes towards him, and he's like, got him and choked by the neck, and like beating him up, pressing him up against like this cabinet or like this shelving and the wall, and basically going to kill him when Steve fights him. So they have this huge fight, like they're pummeling each other, like both bloody, both like Billy just seems to kind of take it and laugh, like he has a very high pain tolerance, obviously. Steve, man, poor guy, he's getting like beat to a bloody pulp. And so anyways, Max finally looks over and sees one of the injections, one of the syringes that they were using on Will to put him to sleep. So she grabs it and just puts it in his neck, and down Billy goes. So yeah, it's as he's like laying there, he's still conscious, so enough where she takes the nail bat. She's like, you're never going to hurt me and my friends ever again, or like, come at us ever again, are you? And he's like, and she like goes at his crotch, like right, like just a little bit, without like hitting his crotch with this nail bat. And he's like, understood. So anyway, that was pretty epic, that she kind of comes into her own and fights back finally against an obvious bully of the series. So but anyways, like Jonathan and Joyce and Nancy, they all take Will to the cabin that Hopper and Eleven were staying in, and they tie him down to the bed, and they set up these heaters. They turn on the fireplace, like they get all these logs and light it on fire. They've got all this stuff going on with him in the center. It's like that. It's like an exorcism ritual. It's like, instead of having holy water, though, they have this excruciating amount of heat. Like obviously they're wilting, they're sweating profusely, and Will like wakes up and realizes what's going on, and he's like very, very upset and thrashing, and they want to burn it out of him. Anyway, we'll get to that in just a minute. So Hopper and Eleven go to the lab. They decide, like Dustin and Lucas and Max decide that they want to go join the fun with Steve. Steve wakes up, Max is driving, and it's that moment of, this girl that's only driven once, like around a parking lot, is driving them to this facility. So, but it goes back to Will. He's burning up. He's sweating. It's like he's possessed. Like this thing is like, he's got that disembodied voice. He's thrashing. He has, obvious strength that is not his own. That's like, a part of him. But anyway, again, it's like jumping around really quick here. Steve tries to convince them to stop. And it goes to like the upside down again. So 11 and Hopper are at the lab. They find Dr. Owens, like he's obviously been mauled on his leg by the Demodogs, and like he's bleeding, but he's still conscious. He's still awake. He's not been like killed by these things. They basically have these scientists in the upside down, and they go to, or excuse me, the scientists have realized that the central hub where they were killed is obviously not something to be messed with, but let's see, Steve and Dustin and Max and all them, they're like, you know what, we're going to set this thing on fire. We're going to set the central nervous system on fire. So they, Nancy and all of them, Jonathan, they like set the whole place on fire, covered in gasoline. And like during this time, Will is screaming. It looks like veins are going up his neck, like this force is going up his neck, and he like grabs Joyce's throat, and like as he's doing that, the upside down is in flame, and Will reacts. Like the monster like purges itself from his body, like it leaves him. The Demodogs are affected by this, obviously. Will goes back to being himself. 11 and Hopper are down in the chasm. They're here to close the gate. And 11 like is trying her best to close it. She sees the monster, the mind flayer, like moving beyond it. And so of course that's scary. And during this time, Dart comes back to runs into Dustin, and Dustin's like trying to pacify him, because obviously he wants Dart to let them pass. Like they're trying to escape the flaming chasm here, so they're trying to get away from all the other Demodogs too, and get out of here before the gate closes and before they're consumed by flame, so or eaten by Demodogs. So he's trying to convince them to let them pass, and he's like, Dart, they have this bond. He's like, it's me, it's Dustin, and gives him 3 musketeers, and Dart actually lets them pass. It's like this moment of, you took care of me, it's almost like that, I don't know, like, because obviously it's in a predatory, mode still, but at the same time it still has those remnants of remembering how Dustin took care of it. So it does let them pass. And 11, it goes back to 11, and oh my gosh, like, you guys, this whole series, this is by far the most epic thing I've ever seen in my entire time watching this show. And like anything I could have imagined, this far surpassed it. Like 11, she's remembering what Kali taught her. She's remembering like how to harness all that anger and the pain. So she like lets it fill her, just all the anger, all the frustration, all this love for Mike, and just all these different emotions are like all being, inside her. Remembering her mom, remembering how Brenner hurt her, and just everything just culminating, and her eyes go black, and she's bleeding, and she's like this light just explodes everywhere, and it's like the most amazing thing ever. Holy crap, you guys, like, wow. It's like, and she like levitates off this platform, and like, so she's no longer standing, she's like levitating like above this platform, you know, with like her hands out and just, you know, pushing this gate closed and back, and it shuts very definitively when she does this, and it's just like, and of course she falls and Hopper catches her, but holy shit, like, oh my god, I cannot tell you enough. Like, this scene, just the scene alone, makes this episode my favorite, like I thought it would, of any of the episodes that came out. This right here, signed, sealed, I'm done. Anyway, gosh, I can't. But anyway, so like, it shows it collapsing. The Demodogs are like falling down the chasm. It shows like Dart kind of falling and almost like withering away. And as Hopper catches Eleven, he's like, you know, you did good, kid. You know, kind of like that still that very protective kind of nature. So fast forward 1 month later, and the tape was released. Hawkins, Indiana is now on the map, you know, for what has happened. Barb, you know, is being like finally, I'm guessing it's like an empty casket. It's finally being buried in Barb's memory, because she got exposed to these toxins that were leaked from the lab, and basically it's hit every news network. Everybody knows, and so finally there's some peace to be had. This is what they were talking about. Like, one thing the Duffer Brothers have said on record is that Barb would have her revenge, and that she would get her you know, there would be peace that would come finally for Barb, and that we would get fulfillment for what happened. And yes, it's not as much as I was hoping for, but because I still, you know, half want Barb to like come awake and be okay, but of course that's not going to happen. I'm sure a lot of people feel that way, but this is as close as it could have gotten to making you know, that peace. Definitely her parents finally know that, you know, the truth, to an extent, the watered down truth. But so it shows Hopper. He goes and meets the doctor, Dr. Owens, at the diner. His leg is better, and he hands him a birth certificate for 11, and it says Jane Hopper. So got a little teary-eyed there, I'm not gonna lie, because, you know, it's official now. She actually has her own birth certificate. She can go to school. You know, he kind of says, give it a year, you know, almost, which, I mean, to me, that's like them saying there's going to be a season 3. I mean, they kind of left quite a few things open, I feel like, especially with like Billy and Max, and like those characters being even more developed, and just so many other things that could happen. But so he says give it a year, so wonder what that can mean. And of course it's Christmas again, and the Snowball is happening. So finally, obviously, 11 and Mike are going to get their moment, because he, as we know, last season invited her to the Snowball, and here we go. Like, Joyce is like trying to show Will how to dance, and this has been like a recurring thing throughout this whole thing. Like, when they are going to Halloween, you know, you have those Polaroids being taken and snapshots. So of course it shows, like, you know, Joyce and Will being videoed on video camera by Jonathan as they're dancing. It shows like the guys are preparing for the dance. Like, Lucas is giving himself a pep talk in the mirror, and they're getting those, of course, like they're like, they're kind of like annoyed, but you know, they're suffering through it, like having their parents photograph them. Like, Mike is like, come on, Mom, this is ridiculous, really, another picture, you know. And every one of the Polaroids, like, his face is just like, ugh, really. And like, Dustin has like this crazy like Jerry curl mullet going on. Like, he's obviously taken Steve's, you know, hair advice and like got it slicked up, and you see him with like the Farrah Fawcett spray and all this stuff, like doing exactly what he was told to do. So I thought that was really cute. I mean, he looks pretty dang good. Like, he doesn't have the kind of, you know, afro effect going on, but it's like all slicked back and looks really good. But gotta love those mullets, man. Take you back to the 80s. But yeah, so Time After Time is playing, and got that Cyndi Lauper going on, and Lucas asks Max, kind of not asking, but asking very kind of lamely to dance. So they dance, and Dustin, like, he wanted to do it, but hasn't yet. So of course he's like, oh dang, he took her. Now who can I ask? So he like, Will gets asked to dance as well by this girl. She's like, zombie boy, you want to go dance? And of course they're doing that, like, traditional school dance of, like, arm's length, dancing like, like Frankenstein. We can't get too close. It has to be arm's length, So of course there's that. And Dustin, like, he gets turned down and, like, scoffed at by Stacy when he asks her, and he, like, goes around, like, trying to ask different girls, and he keeps getting shot down. Poor Dustin. So, like, he goes to, like, the bench and, like, on, like, in the bleachers, and he's just sitting there so dejected. And, like, this whole time, Nancy, who apparently has volunteered to help out, is, like, at the punch bowl looking at him. And it's kind of funny because in this moment it reminds me of something I did when I was in high school. I was actually dancing with a gentleman, and I saw this girl that, like, he knew. It was a classmate of his. Like, we were dancing, he had asked me to dance. He's like, oh my gosh, there's, like, so and so, and she was sitting very dejectedly against the wall, like, holding her knees to herself. And I was like, you know what, why don't you ask her to dance? I'm good. We've gotten to dance like half the song already as it is. Why don't you ask her? So it kind of reminded me of that a little bit, because Nancy walks over to him and asks him to dance, and he's like, because obviously he has had kind of a crush on Nancy, as we know. And she, like, tells him of all of her brother's friends, he's her favorite, and it's really endearing and so cute because he's got that gorgeous pearls and his little little growl that he's been doing this whole season, which I think is adorable personally, but apparently everybody else is like, stop that's not cool, but it's adorable. But anyway, so they're dancing, and of course Stacy sees him, and she's like, oh, well, I guess he's cooler than I thought, kind of moment. So definite retribution for Dustin not getting people to agree to dance with him. And Hopper is, like, talking to Joyce. Like, you get this feeling that they have this connection. It's obviously going to be hard for her. Like, she's going to have to take this slow, especially after what happened to Bob. So, but, you can kind of see that they're, bonded in that kind of same way. Almost like Jonathan and Nancy are. I can kind of see that happening with them. And then Sting and the police. Every breath you take. And Elle walks in the door, and Mike pivots and sees her, and she is so gorgeous. Like, my heart was, like, beating out of my chest. I was like, finally it's happening, and it's so perfect. And Max has this moment, like, they dance, like, Mike gets Elle to dance with him finally, and this moment happens where, like, Max kisses Lucas, and Mike finally kisses Elle, and I'm, like, sobbing because, like, oh god, I'm gonna start crying. But anyway, it's so emotional, and I love the scene. It's so good. Oh gosh, I'm gonna get, like, so upset. Anyway, it's so perfect. And but yeah, so at the very end, after this, like, it's just the perfect way to end the series, especially this episode with the gate. And oh gosh, sorry you guys, I'm just, whoo. Anyway, and at the very end, you see the middle school flip upside down, and you see the mind flare poised over it, almost like a black widow, almost like I don't even know, like a praying mantis had a baby with a black widow, and it's got, like, its long head and neck, like, sitting there poised, like, directly over the gym, and it's, like, legs, or whatever you want to call them, vectors, like, posed perfectly around it. And again, I love the camera work, because you know, when they do the camera flips to kind of let you know we're going to the nether, we're going to the upside down, you know, it does that again. So yet again, I feel like there's going to be you know, more to come, especially with them talking about give it a year. You know, there's still a few things that are unanswered. Obviously, this monster is still there, hasn't like fully been dealt with, but the gate has been closed. So what's going to happen with that? I don't know. Like, is there another rift somewhere? Is there another opening? Like, is there something that's going to happen beyond the gate that Elle's going to have to deal with, possibly with 8? Are we going to meet 1 through 7 and 9 also? Like, are we going to meet any of the others? Like, there's so many things that are still out there that I'm sure not just me, but you guys definitely are questioning with me. Like, you know, obviously Murray got his revenge. You know, what's going to happen with Elle now that she's officially Jane Hopper? You know, what's going to become of all this? So, I mean, there's still questions left, which is very, you know, smart on their part. Of course, if they want to continue this, gosh, I'm still tearing up a little bit. But yeah, so wow, this series, I didn't think it could possibly get better than the first season, and it has surpassed anything I could have ever imagined, especially with this episode, with Elle's epic moment where she's like levitating and with a gate, and with, of course, the snowball. Whew, man, I just, you guys. But note to self, me and you guys, never get on Tumblr or any, like, even Facebook or social networks when you haven't finished the series, because some of this episode was actually spoiled a little bit for me. But anyway, but yeah, that was The Gate. I really loved this episode. By far, of all of Stranger Things, this has been the best episode ever. I would rate it a perfect 11. It is beyond amazing. I mean, you know, 11 came from here to where she is now, and I can't tell you how excited I am. So I really appreciate you guys watching these reviews. Me and Dart over here are super appreciative. So hopefully you enjoy what you see. Definitely subscribe. Again, we do obviously reviews like this. We review Walking Dead, Star Trek Discovery, as well as we'll be reviewing Game of Thrones and Doctor Who when it comes back on. And I also review the Orville. We do unboxings like Loot Crate, Loot Anime. We do Scotchbox, Japanese Snacks, Fandom of the Month I've got coming, as well as Anime Bento. So check those out. We're giving away Destiny 2 right now. So if you want to win your own copy or give it to someone else, definitely go ahead and subscribe. That video has been posted on how to win. So if you want to know how you could win your own copy, check that out. Also, if you want to win further things, we've got a lot of amazing giveaways coming up. As we get closer to Christmas, we'll be giving away a lot of different items that you could like or possibly give to someone for Christmas as a gift. Maybe take that financial strain off of you for the holidays. So check that out and go ahead and subscribe so you can get ahead of everyone else that's going to be entering those. And yeah, that's pretty much what we've got coming up. We've got some live gaming streams that are going to be going on here very soon, as well as just comic reviews and more anime stuff. Just a lot of fun and great content for you guys. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you can subscribe and just follow us. You can also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/thenerdettes. And I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again. Bye.